Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, today is April 19, 2020, and I'm going to share with you on a topic of Covid-19 and a grieving God. As we know that the pandemic of Covid-19 is still raging around the world, the United States death figures has just topped over 40,000. It is 11.24 out of 100,000 US citizens. If we just multiply by estimated 25 mourners for each person who died, it would be 1 million mourners in America today. The infection is over 742,000. In Europe, the infection tops 1 million. Around the world, the total infection is over 2,367,000, with 163 persons already died. These are the tragedies of the pandemic. However, it is not only in the deaths and the infection, it has also brought tremendous impacts on the economy and the socio-political scene and international relations. On the economic front, the United States right now has over 22 million people who apply for unemployment compensation. That's not counting those who have been unemployed but has not filed. That is out of 158 million of employment population, so the figure is around 14%. That is very, very high. However, let's also be aware that 30 million jobs was saved by the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. These are the people who would have lost their job were it not that the government pays their businesses, their boss, to pay them the salary while they are not working. Since the proclamation of national emergency on March 13, it has been 37 days. It is almost 40 days, and it has been devastating in the physical toll and also emotional toll. The deaths has been around 2,000 people per day within the last 10 days and 1,400 people per day for the period of 10 days prior to these 10 days, and it is increasing. The new cases, however, are increasing less in the last 10 days than the 10 days prior. As we also know that there are protest rallies in different states, from Michigan to Indiana to Texas, Virginia, and even in Orange County, California. We saw that a woman was showing her gray hair roots, says that I need to see my hairdresser and I'm angry. Well, I think this is pretty much a physical health, public health issue and also mental health issue. The suicide hotline is lighting up. People are at their wits' ends and at their maximum emotional turmoil tolerance. And the questions has been asked, where is God? A father who lost his son would ask, where is God when my son dies? That is a very emotional, heartfelt, and very common questions of grief. But before I answer that, let us look at a few other things. First is, let's look at the 5 parts of a whole person. There's the physical, rationality, emotion, volition, and spirit. And spirit is the part of us that communes or communicates with God. Throughout the history, there were different philosophies that seems to reflect on the interaction and the division between the 5 parts that I mentioned. There's a philosophy that basically say the spirit or the soul is good and the body is bad. That's Gnosticism. There's another one that says that spirit is good and the soul, meaning rationality, emotion, and volition, is bad. And the other one was the ratio is good, the emotion is bad. That's probably Stoicism. The fact of the matter is, all parts of humanity are an integrated whole. We are all created in the image of God, and we have all these things as God have designed for us. It is also part of the image of God in that God also has these features of rationality. We can see that in His design of the universe, His design of all His creations. We can see that God wills. He has volition. He makes decision. He judges. He is sovereign in His decisions, in His economy. But one part that's often been left out is the emotion of God. God is highly emotional, just like humans are emotional. However, since humanity had fallen into total depravity since the fall of Adam, all parts of humanity are tainted by sin. And if we are not careful, it could lead to sinful acts. When we follow our own emotions, our rationality, and our decision. Due to this sinful nature, we humans are subject to ANT, that's automatic negative thoughts. Now, let's get into the human emotions. I want to talk about first on the negative human emotions, the causation in our perception and interpretation, and the action that we might take that might be wrong or less profitable. The first one is fear. That is caused by threat that we perceive, and the action that we might take is to fly, is to run away. Number 2 is sadness. That's due to a loss, and the action we might take or fall into is isolation ourselves from others and depression. And the third one is anger. That is due to our perception of offense that could lead into fight or aggression. And the fourth one is anxiety. That's due to uncertainty in our environment that leads to escapism in drugs, in excessive food consumption, or other pressures of diversion. The fifth is surprise, and that's because we perceive of something unexpected, and that could lead into rash decision. Number 6 is frustration. That's due to blocked goals, and that leads into blame game. And the last one is irritation or disgust. That's when we perceive a change that we did not anticipate, and that leads into curse, or mean spirit. However, there are a lot of positive emotions that we could enjoy, probably like joy, satisfaction, compassionate, peace, security, relief, and fulfill. Now, as we mentioned that we experience emotion, but God also experienced emotion. In the Old Testament, we would see that God expresses his emotion of compassion. In Jeremiah 31 verse 3, the Lord had appeared unto me saying, Yea, I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore with loving kindness have I drawn you. God expressed joy in Zephaniah 3:17. The Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save, he will rejoice over you, he will rest in his love, and he will rejoice with you with singing. So we see that also in Jeremiah, that God says that I will rejoice over them to do them good. I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and my whole soul. However, God also experienced grief. In Genesis chapter 6 verse 6 it says, And he repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. In Psalm 78:40 it says, How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert. In the New Testament, we see that Jesus also experienced the emotions. Now, Jesus is fully God and fully man, and therefore there are more stories that we see that recorded in the scriptures that he openly expressed his emotion. Probably the emotion of agony or irritation was in Luke chapter 22:44. That was Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, awaiting for the crucifixion coming up. And it says that in Luke 22:44, and being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down on the ground. On the cross, as recorded in Matthew 27:46, and about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, that is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? The cross was the full expression of the love of God and the justice of God. And the emotional pain was probably the worst kind, when Jesus not only suffered it physically with all those blows, all the nails pierced on him, but it was also a spiritual one where he cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? However, in that episode, we only saw the part of Jesus in his agony. Could we imagine also the God the Father, the emotions of him listening to this cry from Jesus? What kind of emotions was he experiencing also? The other experience of Jesus was in the death of Lazarus. In the John chapter 11, it was recorded that Jesus saw that Lazarus already had died, and he wept. There was an expression of sadness, of grief. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2 was talking about the two emotions. Looking into Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the same, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So he was experiencing the pain of the cross, yet for the joy that was set before him. So when you are experiencing your emotions, intense negative emotions, do you have a hope of glory ahead of you? Do you have a hope of a better situation ahead of you that you could be comforted and even have the joy for? Things that could amplify or cause negative emotions. Number one is an erroneous extrapolation. If the first number is 10, the second one is 9, what do you think the third number may be? It's 8 and then 7 and da. It's called extrapolation. But does it necessarily have to be that? No. So when we look at this COVID-19, we could say that would it be a V where it went downhill? There was the situation in the economy and other things, and then it goes right back up like a V? Or would it be in the shape of a U that it stays on the bottom for a while before it goes up? Or in the situation of our mental health, would it be an L, that it was down and then it flats for a long time before the tragedy of depression and some other things that may happen? So the second one is the false assumption, that if we assume certain things will happen, all our thoughts are basically based upon assumptions, because we human beings do not have full knowledge of what is in the future. So it's presuppositions and assumptions. When our assumptions are wrong, then it leads to the wrong considerations and the wrong conclusion. Third one was false choice. That means that if you are given two bad results of the situation, and you think that that's the only choice you have, but both of them are bad, then you feel depressed. However, it does not necessarily have to be true. You do not have to have both choices that are bad. Look for a better one. The other one is exaggeration. Is when the people were thinking of the bad situation, sometimes they overblow it, such that it could have a maximum impact. The other one is displaced causation. You fix the problem on a wrong cause. A does not necessarily lead to B. But if you keep on blaming A for the B situation, which is not true, then that leads into wrong action. The other one is universal application. You just think that whatever happens over there would also apply to me. Well, each of us are unique, and we are in unique situations, so there does not necessarily have to be a universal application. Now let me just mention now of the things that could bring a positive emotions or reduce your negative emotions. Number one is to receive the gifts of faith and hope and love. James chapter 1:17, that says that every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Faith is a gift. Hope is a gift. Love is a gift. Now you say that I do not have faith right now, or my faith is weak. Pray to receive that gift. It is a gift. You do not have it upon yourselves. It is a gift from God, just like your salvation is. But if you are saved right now, your faith could increase by receiving it from God. Secondly is that find a community of friends that could share your emotions and your feelings, that could listen you out, your rants, your anger, and your complaints. You could also tell that to God. God is a great God that could stand you ranting and yelling and even complaining, just like He did. He allowed that privileges to David and Job. The other one is to take care of your physical needs. If you are hungry, chances are you are going to feel bad. And if you are feeling bad and hungry at the same time, it gets worse. There's a term that is HALT, H-A-L-T, that says that hungry, H, A is angry, L is loneliness, and T is tired. These are the situations physically or emotionally that could amplify your negative emotions. The other one is a proper channel for expression. In music and in Psalms, we could see all ranges of emotions of David in his Psalms. The next one is the anchor to the truth. Because with everything changing in our environment, there is an unchanging truth in God that's recorded in His words, and we should be anchored to that. The next one is to remember your past lessons. In your life, you accumulate a lot of experiences that give you the confidence that as time passes, things will get better. This current problem is not going to be final. In the history of humanity, we have gone through 7 major pandemics, from the pandemics of Justinian, the Black Death, the smallpox, the Spanish flu of 1918, even to the most recent SARS and the HIV epidemic that had already taken the lives of over 36 million people. But in each and every single situation, we have come through. Although we have not found a vaccine for HIV, but we have found a protocol that allows the people to live normal lives. And the last one is seek solutions. In the case of this COVID-19, it is to seek the vaccine that could kill the virus. So the conclusion I want to mention is that God is as emotional as we are. Today, as we grieve for those who die, over 40,000 in the United States, let's also remember that we grieve individually for individuals, but God grieves for all humanity. God is love. He loves all people, Christians and sinners alike. And tears, while there are tears all night, joy comes in the morning. Have peace in God. Amen.